Jey Uso and Roman Reigns are about to form a new bloodline, the best and worst of WWE Raw. Breaking news, as a huge name has been confirmed for WWE NXT Homecoming, AJ Styles quits WWE to finally get the respect he deserves, WWE easily making $400 to $500 million with WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia, WWE under fire for Rhea Ripley's limited TV time, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar obvious outcome, AJ Lee's promo on Raw lacked logic, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch add LA Knight to the vision. Let's dive right in. The best and worst of WWE Raw. Last night's Raw served as the last big build-up for the Red brand before WWE's first show on ESPN, with WrestlePalooza streaming on the new service this Saturday in the United States. The episode was a real mix. It had strong moments but dragged with too much repetition. Major names like John Cena, CM Punk, AJ Lee, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Jey Uso, LA Knight, Braun Breaker, Rhea Ripley, Sky, and others filled the card. Some got solid spots while others just made quick cameos. Let's jump right into the highs and lows of Monday Night Raw. Number 1. The best. Bayley is back. Bayley returned to Raw last night after weeks away, stepping in to rescue Lyra Valkyria from a pounding by Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. She moved sharply in the ring, and after a brief moment of doubt about Valkyria, she brushed her off and headed outside to hug the announce team, Joe Tessitore, Corey Graves, Alicia Taylor, and even some fans. This peek into her tangled mind grew deeper when odd voices of Bayley yelling, her chatting with her different sides, echoed from her locker room as Valkyria came by to figure out the earlier chaos. But Bayley just sat there scrolling her phone, and though we couldn't see the screen, trusted reports said she was checking out the best and worst of this week's WWE SmackDown. Still, Valkyria left even more confused, as nothing added up. When she tried speaking to the Grand Slam champion, Bayley snapped at her for barging in, showing she'd flipped personalities once more. The idea behind this tale stands out as fresh and engaging, but it could have flopped with its odd vibe. Instead, Bayley's fresh take keeps shining, and the role model nails these multiple sides with sharp style. Her character ranks as one of the most gripping in wrestling today. Number 2. The best and worst. Jey Uso's character shift. Same main event every week. Shifting from one deep character change, we turn to Jey Uso's puzzling path, making him a must-watch on Raw again. He grapples with being a former world champion, his struggle to climb back up, Roman Reigns' advice or whatever it was, the original Tribal Chief's absence, and his rocky tie with twin Jimmy Uso. The Usos are back together, but Jey's drive and pride, from his rise over the last 2 years, mixed traits from the right-hand man, the Yeet Man, and Roman Reigns' Tribal Chief days. The storyline pulls you in, and we can only hope it moves forward, pulls in Roman Reigns big time, and wraps up strong, launching another chapter of the Bloodline saga on Raw. The issue, though, is the same worn-out Raw closer each week, with Jey Uso and LA Knight, now Jimmy Uso too, failing to sync against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. This time, the Bronsons beat Big Jim and LA Knight after Jimmy paired with Knight against Jey's wishes, or something like that. Jey rushed in to aid Jimmy, chased off the Bronsons, and helped his brother up before LA Knight faked a chair shot on Jey. Jey spun around, Knight dropped the chair, Jey offered a shake, Knight took it, then waited for Jey to turn before hitting the BFT and paying him back from last week. The plot hooks you, but why keep replaying a twist on the same main event weekly? Raw doesn't lack big names or tales. So, it's not the story itself that's off, but Raw's overall setup that feels like the same routine every time. For folks who break down WWE shows for hours, it's okay. For everyday viewers, not so much. Number 3. The best. The Sky Asuka situation. It's wild how much spotlight Sky has gotten, and how deep the stories around her run since losing the Women's World Championship at Evolution. Why didn't this happen when she held the title after WrestleMania? Still, her tale with Asuka and Kairi Sane creates top-notch TV, pulling in Rhea Ripley, who eyes the Women's World Championship after WrestlePalooza, and Stephanie Baker, set to battle Sky for the empty belt at the PLE. Will Asuka ruin Sky's title shot at WrestlePalooza? Is Stephanie Baker about to flip to villain? Where does Kairi Sane's loyalty end up? And how does Rhea Ripley fit in? These questions hook you, and with the story's smart build-up over recent Raw weeks, the answers should deliver. We're caught in a gripping soap opera that boosts characters of international wrestlers who struggle with English. Yet, strong scripts and solid acting beat that hurdle. Plus, the lineup features some of the best in-ring talents today, across genders, so the action can steal any show. The women on Raw, along with the writing team, are killing it, and it's a shame SmackDown's side feels so different. Number 4. The worst. Why are Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, and AJ Styles in the El Grande Americano-verse? The El Grande Americano-verse splits opinions, and the character, whether Chad Gable or Ludwig Kaiser plays him, draws mixed cheers from crowds. Oddly, he's a hit in AAA despite mocking Lucha Libre. On Monday Night Raw, though, he's a hated villain. Honestly, is he the right word for El Grande Americano? Is this a person? More like an idea? A wild social force that pops up out of nowhere? On last night's Raw, Americano, Ludwig Kaiser, took on Dragon Lee, backed by 2 helper Americanos, call them tall and short, even as AJ Styles tried stopping the random spawns. Though TV hasn't named tall and short, they're obviously Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Is this the smartest way to use two guys with experience and youth who could shine as solo stars or a top tag team in WWE? And is it the best spot for AJ Styles, with little time left in his great career? The El Grande Americano-verse comes off as light fun and harmless, but it won't push anyone to Raw's main event. Instead of building Dunne and Bate, it wipes their unique traits. Gable and now Kaiser handle the role well, but with sidekick Americanos, their upside looks capped. Another hot topic in indie wrestling chats. With Kaiser's clear height edge over Chad Gable, once Shorty G, shouldn't Kaiser rebrand to El Venti Americano? And did Gable's grande name stem from old pain and insecurity over being called Shorty? Breaking news as a huge name has been confirmed for WWE NXT Homecoming. A major star is set for WWE NXT Homecoming on Tuesday. The developmental show heads back to Full Sail University for a special Homecoming episode on CW. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair are already locked in for the event. WWE hit X/Twitter to reveal former NXT champion Bobby Roode's comeback for NXT Homecoming. Glorious! Bobby Roode will be NXT Homecoming tonight at Full Sail, the post read. Former TNA World Champion Bobby Roode stepped into NXT in 2016. He quickly became a top villain on the brand. He teamed briefly with Ty Dillinger for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic before betraying him. Roode kept climbing and won a #1 Contenders Fatal 4-Way to challenge for the NXT Championship. At NXT TakeOver, San Antonio in January 2017, Roode defeated Shinsuke Nakamura to claim the NXT title. After strong defenses, he lost the belt to Drew McIntyre at NXT TakeOver, Brooklyn 3. Bobby Roode soon hit the main roster, capturing the U.S. title and becoming a 3-time tag team champion. WWE is pulling out all the stops for the NXT Homecoming episode. North American champion Ethan Page defends against returning Tyler Breeze. Rhea Ripley comes home to team with Lyra Valkyria and Stephanie Baker against Fatal Influence. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano face Trick Williams and Carmo Hayes. The Women's Tag Team Championship is up for grabs as Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair defend against Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame. AJ Styles quits WWE to finally get the respect he deserves. AJ Styles, a true wrestling legend, stands among the all-time greats, but watching how WWE has used him lately stings, especially with the Phenomenal One nearing the end of his in-ring days. It looks like Styles has hit his limit with the lack of respect. Last week on Raw, he unleashed a fiery worked shoot promo, venting his frustration with WWE and dropping cryptic hints about someone backstage pulling strings against him. With his contract expiring in February 2026, WWE seems to be leaning into this real tension to build drama as Styles enters his career's final stretch. The TNA icon has said many times he won't wrestle past 50, and at 48, time's ticking. What if, in the storyline, AJ Styles threatens to walk away from WWE, or actually does? His anger could boil over, and he might talk about jumping to a place like TNA, a partner of WWE, or AAA, now under WWE's umbrella. Down the line, whether by dominating those promotions or fans begging for his return, WWE might have to bring Styles back for one last epic run, lasting as long as he and the company agree. This way, WWE could cleverly turn his lack of spotlight into a wave of genuine fan support, blending real-life elements like his contract's end and his no wrestling past 50 vow to craft a gripping final chapter. Instead of heading to AAA or TNA, which would make a comeback too obvious due to their WWE ties, Styles could simply announce he's done with the company on social media and vanish from TV for weeks. Behind the scenes, WWE and Styles could hammer out a new contract and plan his retirement run. His absence could amplify the realness of this drama, especially after his frustration with being dragged into the El Grande Americano storyline on Raw. No one's saying Styles should actually retire from WWE, return to TNA, and wrestle there before a final match at some indie show. By the way, has Ric Flair ever really retired? This is about Styles stepping away from in-ring action in WWE, like when Flair famously declared, "I will never retire," after a brief break, only for McMahon to say his next loss would end his career. Styles is in a similar spot. Still incredible in the ring and loved by all, but crowded out by WWE's packed roster, he's not getting the shine he deserves. Only he and his inner circle know how his body holds up after over 20 years in wrestling. Last week, Styles hinted someone backstage wants him gone. A powerful mystery figure could slap a brutal rule on him, lose one match, and he's forced to retire. This could spark an unforgettable run as he fights to climb back to the top. Whether the former WWE champion reaches the peak again is anyone's guess. WWE easily making $400 to $500 million with WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia. WWE heads to Saudi Arabia for WrestleMania 43 in 2027, but not everyone's thrilled. Still, Jonathan Coachman sees the move as a cash grab that could net the company $400 to $500 million. WWE dropped the big news a while ago. WrestleMania 43 hits Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in 2027. It's the first time the event leaves North America, and fans gripe about the limits it brings. On Behind the Turnbuckle Studios' The Coach and Bro Show, Jonathan Coachman was asked if more Saudi events are coming after the announcement. The former WWE star said yes, more are likely. He broke down how the company could easily pull in at least $400 to $500 million with WrestleMania there. Coachman pointed to Las Vegas, which made the same amount for WrestleMania 41 and locked in WrestleMania 42 in 2026. Yes, I do. Why did they go back to Las Vegas this year for 2 WrestleManias in a row? What's the reason? Money. How much do you think the company makes or generates for Las Vegas to get the deal they have to go back? $400 to $500 million at least. Easily that much. We're talking about hundreds and thousands of people coming to one city, Coachman said. WWE kicked off events in Saudi Arabia in 2018, and since then, the company and the country have pushed boundaries. Now, it's a yearly habit to run 2 premium live events in Riyadh or Jeddah, but WrestleMania 43 isn't the only huge show headed there. Triple H announced Royal Rumble 2026 for the coming months. The Big 4 event lands in Riyadh on the 31st of January. It'll be worth watching if Saudi Arabia hosts even more PLES down the line. WWE under fire for Rhea Ripley's limited TV time. Inside sources recently called out WWE for barely putting Rhea Ripley on TV. The star was at the Raw tapings this week in Springfield, Massachusetts. Monday's Raw was the final show before WrestlePalooza, and Mommy only appeared in a quick backstage moment. Stephanie Vaquer was getting ready for her match against Kairi Sane when Rhea approached La Primera. She told Vaquer she'd be watching the Women's World Championship match at WrestlePalooza closely, wished her luck, and vowed to chase the title soon. On this week's Legion of Raw, inside sources pointed out that Mommy's screen time has been nearly non-existent for weeks. They noted her appearances have been stuck in short backstage bits with other stars, questioning why someone as big as Ripley is barely on weekly shows. This is just hysterical because the backstage vignettes with these 3, it's been 6 weeks now. This has been the 4th week in a row where we have seen Rhea Ripley in the back, in literally a 30-second segment, 4 weeks in a row, inside sources said. Rhea Ripley's last TV match was on the August 25th Raw, beating Roxanne Perez one-on-one. The Eradicator has also popped up in NXT lately. Last week, she appeared on the developmental brand alongside Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie Vaquer to face off with Fatal Influence. The Australian is geared up for an intense 6-woman tag team match at NXT Homecoming this week from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, obvious outcome. John Cena gears up to clash with Brock Lesnar one final time at WrestlePalooza 2025. Inside sources say there's only one clear winner for this bout. On the latest Sportskeeda's Writing with Russo, host Dr. Chris Featherstone sat down with the former WWE writer to break down the WrestlePalooza card. Sources predicted Stephanie Vaquer would beat Sky while slamming AJ Lee's return match, criticizing her Raw promo from last week for Cena versus Lesnar. They insisted the 17-time world champion must win since he's got just 2 matches left before retiring. You've still got a couple of months for John Cena's retirement. You've got to put him over. I think you've got to put him over, inside sources said. Talk is swirling about who'll face Cena in his final match at Saturday night's main event in mid-December. Many see Gunther as the top pick, but Sam Roberts pitched a different name on Not Sam Wrestling. The WWE personality suggested Drew McIntyre as Cena's last opponent, arguing the Scottish Warrior should take the victory. The last one is John Cena versus Drew McIntyre, and that's where you get the John Cena loss. That's where you get Drew McIntyre taking the dub because you can't have John Cena lose a bunch of matches, which just doesn't make any sense because if you have him lose all the matches, there's no value in getting those victories. Roberts said. Whoever steps up as Cena's final foe, most fans agree they should beat the man many call the greatest ever. Whether it's Gunther, Drew McIntyre, or someone else, expect an unforgettable end to one of wrestling's most legendary careers. AJ Lee promo on Raw lacked logic. A wrestling veteran unleashed harsh words for AJ Lee, WWE, and a specific moment from her recent Monday Night Raw return, calling it completely illogical. On the latest Writing with Russo on Sportskeeda, host Dr. Chris Featherstone asked inside sources about AJ Lee's upcoming in-ring comeback at WrestlePalooza, where she'll team with her husband CM Punk against power couple Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins in a mixed tag team match. Sources had already ripped into AJ Lee's promo from the September 8th Raw, and they doubled down this week, standing by their critique. If you believed anything you saw from AJ Lee's return to that god-awful return on Monday, you're just a complete mark. Absolutely zero logic, but you've got to get the babyfaces over, inside sources said. The comments will likely spark debate, as AJ Lee, back in WWE after over 10 years, remains a fan favorite. So, what's behind the harsh words? On Sportskeeda's Legion of Raw after the September 8th episode, inside sources called out Triple H as a pop merchant, saying AJ Lee's segment showed WWE's focus on thrilling live crowds over TV viewers. I thought this was horrible. She was talking about freaking mental health. I went for therapy, and now the marks are chanting therapy. I'm like, what are we freaking watching here, bro? This is awful. This is awful, bro. There is not one shred of reality in anything they do. What we're seeing is for that crowd. If you're not a part of this crowd, and you're trying to watch this, good luck, inside sources said. This week on Raw, AJ Lee and CM Punk fell for a trick. thinking Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch were on the rocks. It led to the Women's Intercontinental Champion making a bold move against her rival before WrestlePalooza. It was a classic bait and switch, with WWE's power couple flexing their dominance on the final Raw before the big event. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch add LA Knight to the vision. WWE's WrestlePalooza is almost here and the lineup looks stacked. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch take on CM Punk and AJ Lee in a mixed tag team clash. In a wild turn, the villain duo might pull in a fresh face to the vision right in Indianapolis. AJ Lee came back on the September 5th SmackDown, facing off with Lynch after she targeted Punk and slapped him multiple times. The next week on Raw, the Black Widow and the Second City Saint locked in the mixed tag against the Man and Rollins for the premium live event. The big night won't just spotlight the power couples battling it out, it could welcome a new member to the vision. LA Knight might jump Punk and aid Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch in grabbing the win on September 20th. The 42-year-old clashed with Punk on the Raw after SummerSlam. The Second City Saint accidentally ruined Knight's shot at the World Heavyweight Championship by going after Rollins. Knight got another crack at the Visionary at WWE Clash in Paris, but in a fatal four-way with Punk and Jey Uso too. Knight fell short as Rollins pinned Punk to keep the title. With this backstory and Knight's beef with Jey Uso on Raw, he could use a partner, especially if Jimmy Uso backs Jey down the line. The Vision's war with the Usos and CM Punk makes the megastar a fit to team up with the villains and get payback on Punk in a surprise move. No sharper way exists for LA Knight to hit his mark than by jumping Punk and boosting Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch to victory at WrestlePalooza. As the Visionary leads the Vision, he could slot Knight in as the latest addition. This plot is just a guess, and what Triple H has cooking for fans at WrestlePalooza remains a mystery. If it happens, LA Knight could stab Seth Rollins in the back later and go after the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It might echo the Daniel Bryan and the Wyatt family tale. Knight could link up with the Visionary for his gain and tear the group apart from within. Beyond settling scores with CM Punk and the Usos, Knight could strike at a weakened Rollins and demand a title shot after shaking up the faction. Still, this is all guesswork, and only time will show what's next for the megastar. Jey Uso and Roman Reigns are about to form a new bloodline. WWE kicks off its streaming run on ESPN with WrestlePalooza. The event's scale means Triple H's creative team might drop some jaw-dropping surprises on Saturday. It looks like groundwork is already laid for one big reveal. The bloodline story could take a fresh turn at the Indianapolis show. This time, Jey Uso and Roman Reigns might bring back the famous group. The head of the table is sidelined after Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker jumped him at WWE Clash in Paris last month. But since the injury is storyline, Reigns could surprise everyone by showing up this weekend. At WWE SummerSlam 2025, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso beat Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in a tag team fight. During the match, the original Tribal Chief put himself on the line for his cousin several times. In the end, the Yeet Master got the pin to win it for their side. Reigns once controlled his family with a tight grip, using his cousins for his gain. But his giving nature at the biggest party of the summer shows the old power setup in the OG bloodline is gone. With their bond shifting, Reigns and Jey could start a new bloodline, but now as partners on equal ground. WrestlePalooza would be the ideal spot for this to happen. On the last Raw before Clash in Paris, Jey Uso vented about the mess in Raw's main event picture ahead of his huge fatal four-way World Heavyweight Championship match. He even asked his cousin Roman Reigns for guidance in a backstage talk. Reigns pushed Jey to look out for himself instead of stressing over others. Here's what the original Tribal Chief said: "Who cares about the help? You've helped enough people, trust me. I'm the one who can say that the most. You've helped me, you've helped our family, you've helped this locker room, you've helped this company. Go out there and do it for you. Smash them all and take it to your household. That is the only thing that matters, man. It ain't about being one of the boys. It ain't about making friends. It is about capturing these moments and locking in our legacy." This backstage chat and what followed could launch a new bloodline chapter. Reigns' words seem to have stuck, as the Yeet Master has focused on himself just like his cousin advised. Jey has picked up some of Reigns' habits and commanding voice lately. The playful, always yeeting Jey Uso is starting to turn into the original Tribal Chief. The former World Heavyweight Champion has been clashing with LA Knight for weeks on Raw. It started from a mix-up, but the megastar's big mouth and Jey's new distrust turned it into a real fight. LA Knight hit Jey with a BFT on this week's Raw, and it could push the Yeet Master over the edge at WWE WrestlePalooza on Saturday. Plus, a Roman Reigns comeback could flip everything, as the original Tribal Chief might be proud of Jey for listening and team up with him. The Usos are back together and face Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in a tag team bout at the Indianapolis event. But even as they team up again, the brothers clearly aren't in sync. Jimmy has called out Jey's fresh attitude and said he sounds like Roman Reigns. The Yeet Master hasn't helped build trust with Big Jim either, as on last night's WWE Raw, Jey told his twin not to pair with LA Knight later in the show. Jimmy had already turned down Knight's pitch, but Jey's pushy style made Big Jim rethink and team with the megastar. With the strain, the Usos team up might not last, as Reigns' possible return could split the twins more and pull Jey to the original Tribal Chief's side.